Right. This is the Russian people. Right now we're being told that they're absolutely awful, that Putin is some sort of demonic, awful maniac, and we've got to go to war with him. How awful. There are lots of very nice Russian people around the place, and they have a very amazing culture as well, and why can we not be friendly with them? That's my feeling. Anyway, this was a dictation written March 1976, and it starts with my comment. The following dictation was written, as can be seen, in 1976. Russia, I believe, has changed a good deal, and its people are more prosperous and freer than when this was written. I have never visited Russia, although I would like to one day. I believe it has a very rich and fascinating culture, and I hope any Russians who might one day read this little profile of their national characteristics will not be offended. After all, we all have our individual national types. However, the warning of what could befall us all are now, I believe, coming to pass, and this virus that has the whole world in a state of fear masks a deeper purpose that we must all fight against. This is the dictation. The vast continent of Russia, similar to China in its history, and to those in the West conjuring up something of the mystery and romance of its past. Many of those in the West, professing themselves to be communists, have in their mind's eye a confused idea not only of the history of Russia, but of the Russia of the present day. The Russian people themselves are great lovers of gaiety, music, festivities of all kinds, and they love feasting on their national traditional foods and can be very delightful companies when in a gay, festive mood, but sad and melancholy when their earthly troubles beset them and lead them to grim thoughts of suicide, vengeance, belligerence, and war of a kind extremely dangerous when on a national or international scale. Theirs too is a complete humanity, from the Tatar and the Mongols of the extreme north to the White Russians of more European appearance to be found nearer to the capital cities of Moscow and Leningrad or St. Petersburg and others. They too were once a deeply religious people and went nowhere without their pocket Bibles, prayer books and religious talismans, which in their superstitious religious fervour they imagined would bring them good fortune and safety. How often in the terrible and bloody wars in which the Russian peoples have so often been involved, have these religious talismans been proved to be more than inadequate against the evils that have beset and overwhelmed their country. Theirs again is a history of the indolent, heedless rich speedily gambling away their lives and fortunes without thought for the thousands of helpless, destitute peasants gradually growing in numbers, whose despair and poverty must in the end overwhelm an unfair regime and a secret cabal of powerful and rich foreign bankers and businessmen who, with no allegiance to any country or creed, have taken advantage of the situation to destabilize the country, to enrich themselves and usher in a regime that has brought the Russian people even more misery. This is too large a country, which would be better never to be regarded as one country, but separated into quite different states, governed amicably together, possibly having a central government similar to America. The state of humanity at this present time bodes extremely ill for this vast continent, struggling against the seemingly impossible odds of problems both financial, economic and racial and political. No country could be more harassed by these problems than Russia is today. The famous writer Alexander Solzhenitsyn is one of the few who had the wisdom and real deep love of his country to see clearly the situation as it is today. He knew that only true wisdom and spiritual understanding can help his people from a way of life gradually becoming more and more intolerable, which could end either in internal strife or belligerence with China or a total turmoil, bring misery and despair not only to the Russian people, but possibly to the rest of the world also. There is only one hope for this people, and in truth for all the different peoples of the world, which is for them to have true knowledge and spiritual understanding of what humanity is and how life and death for all of us is designed to work and push us all forward together. There are those who would do anything to prevent this knowledge from getting into the world and reaching the hearts and minds of many good people of all nations who would be so much happier by it, be made so much happier by it. For this reason, the lords of creation are prepared to take a stand and bring about many things within the next 10 years. Well, I hope so, because nothing seems to have happened. If this knowledge can be received by all the people of the world, it will save them from a terrible end of all that is good, just, kind, beautiful and wonderful in this world, which is now poised to become a dark and sinister place that will bring despair and terrible situation that will last for 1,000 years, and place all those who must live in this world during their physical lives in a hopeless situation. There are many in this world of all nations who will work tirelessly to bring the plan that is being set out in these pages to a successful conclusion. And I've got a little comment here. Before Boris Johnson censored it, I very often watched Russia Today or RT. I thought it a very good news programme. I believe that Hillary Clinton once remarked that RT was kicking our butts. Perhaps the politicians in America have censored RT as well. I'm not sure about that. One programme on RT that I often watched was Crosstalk. On one episode, a group of American academics were discussing the politics of their country, and one told of how he was acquainted with Paul Wolfowitz, who was at one time head of the World Bank, US Defense Secretary, and many other things. In 2001, when he was a great advocate for the Iraq War, he apocryphally told this particular academic that we are going to destroy 7 Middle Eastern nations and then we're going after the Russians. He was known at the time as the architect of the war in Iraq, which he denied. He left to be the 10th head of the World Bank, but left after 2 years due to a scandal. Well, quite obviously the plans that he outlined to this particular academic are still being adhered to. My question is why? Why do we want to destroy 7 Middle Eastern nations? What is wrong with the Russians? Is Putin a bad man? Who knows? But the Russian people are no worse than us. Why would we not make alliances and trade agreements around the world? Why would our farmers and fishermen not all get together to care for the planet and our oceans? The ancient Roman politician Cicero was supposed to have said that the serving your country was a blessed thing, and that all such men should endeavour to make their people happy. It seems that those behind things now bring nothing but misery and the threat of war. It's being said in the media that most of the young men today who are refusing to join the military. Let us hope that these belligerent men who are presently in power, will find that they have no armies to fight their wars, and that the young men of today are not going to have their lives squandered at these dreadful men's whim, at least not until military power is for policing the world peacefully. And that is the end of that, Miles.